Guys, welcome back to Jacob V Weekly. We want to start like we do every week by reminding you to reach out to Caddyshack of New Hamel, Illinois. It's actually just Hamel. CaddyshackIL.org, I believe. You can also find them on my website, jacobv.com. There's a tab that'll take you directly to whatever the correct name of Caddyshack's URL is. I just got back from tour with no antics. We did 6 dates in March across the great Midwest. And all of that content is actually available on my Patreon already, patreon.com/JacobV. So catch up there. My guests today are Kirkos. Kirkos is a psychedelic rock band based in St. Louis. They just did an episode of the All That Jam podcast where you can learn in detail how they came to be and find out, you know, how they kind of got started and stuff. So we don't have to rehash all of that. We can use it as sort of a primer. You can find that wherever you download podcasts. You can see them next in April, starting off a tour in Fayetteville, Arkansas, at Kingfish on April 13th. April 14th in Waco, Texas. 2 nights in Midland, Texas, April 15th and 16th. April 17th in Bisbee, Arizona. April 18th in Sedona. April 19th and 21st in Las Vegas, because they're going to try to get into the Sphere on 420 to see Fish. April 23rd in Denver. The 24th in Omaha, Nebraska. May 3rd, they'll be back here in St. Louis. Where's that St. Louis date at?
Heavy Anchor.
Heavy Anchor. Oh, fuck yeah. That's right down the street from my house. And it's even closer to Dee Dee's house. So I would expect the crew to be there for that one, because we got a place to crawl back to. You could walk there from Dee Dee's house. A healthy person could walk there from my house, but not me. Where was I? If you don't know yet, Unearthed by Kirkos is a fabulous album that represents what I love about them really well. It's everywhere online, and it's featured in full on Jacob V's Favorite Songs March 2024 on Spotify. So if you don't follow the companion playlist for the show on Spotify, that whole album is on there. It's only 6 songs, but it's 42 minutes of really beautiful stuff. We're going to talk all about it today. I'm here today with Jacob and Jordan from Kirkos. They play keyboards and bass, respectively, in the dystopian jam band. Can we start with where that term came from?
Yeah, it kind of just feels dystopian. It kind of sounds that way.
I agree.
We were living in St. Louis, obviously. We live in the city, and so, you know, we're kind of surrounded by industrial decay. And so it's kind of influenced by and also just kind of from the feeling that we're kind of in maybe like a pre-dystopian time right now.
Yeah, certainly post-utopian if ever there was one.
Right.
For sure. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've talked about this on the show before, is that I've always been infatuated with that because I'm from here, like the whole time. I never really left. And even when I lived in the suburbs to go to school, because we've covered this on the show, I don't have to take you through the whole trip. But I spent a lot of time back in the city because it's where, you know, I wanted to be, and I live right down the street from here now. So, you know, and I do the whole thing every morning during the week going to work, that I go from all the way down here at the end of Kings Highway all the way up to the edge of the city up north. And so you get to see all of that.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's actually better than it was for a time around here. All these houses up and down 44 between here and Grand used to be abandoned and completely like messed up looking. And so driving there every time, you just couldn't stop staring at it.
Yeah.
It was a huge problem for decades. And so maybe that appeals to some of my attraction to the music too, because maybe like we admire that same energy. Because it's, I mean, just to witness it, it's like you have to find something interesting in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because if you obsess too much about how we're just like the Mr. Meeseeks for the baby boomers, and now that they're all dead, they don't need us anymore. And so what's our purpose? You know, we can't spend all that time on that, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I did my nickel. You know what I mean? I was in all the Christmas photos. I was doing Santa on Christmas at the mall way too late.
Yeah.
Well, I was too tall to be doing. I was sitting next to Santa. There was no lap for Santa. I was standing next to Santa, like he just got back from Iraq, and I'm giving him a medal. So, did you guys ever see Detropia, that documentary about Detroit?
Oh no,
I haven't seen that.
It came out when I was in high school, so it's a good 15 years old by now, maybe older, but it's, I want to say 2007 maybe is when it came out, but it follows different perspectives of Detroit at that time. And one of them was a barista who worked downtown. And one of them was a guy that owned a bar across from a now closed Ford plant, I think. And my grandfather worked for Ford for 35 years here in St. Louis. So it was like very interesting to me because it used to be the center of the community. And then also two artists that move there because it's so cheap and they can pursue things deeper and longer there. And so you get all those different perspectives all back and forth. And what was I?
Detropia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll send you guys a link to watch it.
Sweet.
I don't want you to have to pay for it because it's so old. It was on Netflix for a long time, but I was the only one watching it, I think. And, but that's okay. So dystopia is kind of the setting for the music, maybe intellectually a little bit, which I totally identify with. I totally think that makes sense. That was on your Facebook, I think, is where I got that. It was where you're identified as such, and that's why I wanted to ask that. Guys, how are you?
Good, yeah.
Good.
Isn't this fun?
Yeah.
I felt like the last podcast I heard you guys do was really necessary to establish sort of the lore and the origin and whatnot. But then by the time you guys got through all that, it didn't seem like there was time for much else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one was actually recorded over like an hour, and there's a second part that's like a little bit more in-depth.
Is that out?
It's not out yet. I think
Okay.
it's coming out.
Okay.
But it was kind of like the first half was just kind of getting to know us, and then the second half was a little bit more just artistic and kind of like about our...
We kind of dipped our toes into the art of it and what we're trying to do.
Well, I don't want to spoil any of that.
Oh, you're fine.
We didn't really dive in, so
yeah, it was pretty. It was pretty short. Like it was just overview stuff.
And the reason I know you guys is your drummer Miles is my drummer Miles and No Antics.
Yeah,
and I like that because I'm married and I own a house, so I don't get to go to shows as often as I used to.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so having that extra reason to make it out to a Kirkos show has been good for me to get to as many, even just as the few of them that I've been to.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, with all those dates I mentioned, and I mentioned them so you wouldn't have to, because I wanted you to save your breath for anything I'm going to let you say, which I don't know when that's going to happen because I haven't stopped talking. And, but why all the dates? I mean, what's the incentive to go on tour? And I can ask you this because I just did it and I'm still experiencing some of that mania. So I know why it's positive. But for people that don't understand why a band that isn't selling out really big places and making tons of money, why they would bother traveling, because it's not easy.
Right.
So I think it's mainly to get us in front of people for sure at this stage. That's a big part of it. Also, for me, honestly, it's just like kind of like a romantic thing in my mind to do. It's kind of just
especially
right. It's kind of just like what I want to do with my life. Yeah. So that's
traditionally, I mean, that's kind of what they all had to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? But the thing that I wanted you to talk to me about, both of you, at any point, is the that people would say, just get them online, but that's obviously not good enough on its own. Because the online numbers get better when you're on the road.
They do.
Definitely. Yeah. I think with like how our music's kind of a niche for sure. It's not for everybody. So it definitely helps us to get out and get in these different venues and get in front of people to where like they're not trying to happen upon it online. Cause we don't even know really like what we're making. So we don't know like what playlists to get it on.
Right.
And that kind of stuff's kind of tough.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about how competitive that is. But I think your music especially, and I think any music that's intended to be played live is probably this way, but especially with things that are labeled as jam or psychedelic in nature, the live experience is such a big part of it. So there's so many things we could start with there. But let's talk about when you take it on the road, the people that are going out to have the traditional live experience of the kind of music you guys play are not sitting online at home looking for new bands. They're out trying to see bands, and they fall in love with bands in the in the crowd with,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
There are, chemical enhancements to that, that I definitely think are relevant. It's a part of the culture historically, and it's certain. Oof, girl, I was doing a little microdose regimen of some psilocybin in quarantine, and it made music sound really good.
Oh yeah,
I mean, what?
Yeah,
you just fold it into your normal routine of everything else you do, and then you put on some. Oh God, what am I allowed to say? You put on some. I almost said you put on some R. Kelly. That's not what I meant. That's not what I was going to say. That's not the example I want you to picture here at all. I watched that all in Siesta Key. We did a podcast every day when I was in Siesta Key, Florida, with my in-laws, and one day I ended up watching all 33 chapters of Trapped in the Closet.
That's insane.
The first 27 or something were on YouTube, but then I had to go to Vimeo to find the last 8.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's a deep cut.
That's a deep cut. Not everyone has seen the final 8.
No.
But yeah, it makes the music really good. So the people that really have an attraction to psychedelic music, jam music, festivals, scenes of various types, it's something they're going to fall in love with live.
Yeah.
And so sending them a track, and as good as the track sound, and we're going to talk about that too. But so winning them over live is a big part of it still.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, there's almost an additional content within the music that can only really come through and be communicated live. Whereas like it's not just the music itself, there's like an energy and a sentimentality that's coming through in like the organic experience and so it's kind of like downloading some like layer of information that's kind of below the surface of the actual music. So there's a little bit more of a kind of a heart to heart when you can do it live. Well,
there's a very physical thing to live music in general that people notice, even if they don't have the vocabulary for it, that it physically, alters the rhythms in your body and synchronizes them to what's happening, especially if it's happening well. We talked about this on the podcast on the road with No Antics, that we saw a band that reminded me of this concept that I used to teach my children at School of Rock, that when you're playing music together, sound is moving out into the room and it starts to swirl together and form an undulating orb. Mm-hmm. And if you contribute to the orb in a meaningful and cohesive and synchronistic way, the orb undulates successfully.
Yeah.
And that is a very physical thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just putting something on while you're in the shower or something is not necessarily going to elicit that exact same experience, which is why people go through the pilgrimage to get into that situation anyway. Because even if I'm just going down the street to see you guys tonight, I have to get there and I have to get in there and I have to, survive the pilgrimage, and I have to find the right combination of ice and Diet Cokes, and I have to, agree to be there long enough to be sucked into the thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? What is that like on the road?
Well, you play a couple empty rooms for sure, and you just kind of have to. Sometimes you have to like force that orb onto certain crowds.
Yeah,
it's like
this is the thing I was so afraid of. Is you never want to force live music onto someone that doesn't want it. However, I don't really understand not wanting it because I prefer it, but I also do it all day,
right?
Every day. You know what I mean? So, but I've definitely had that. Like I'm trying to start hosting a trivia game for someone that's having dinner.
Yeah.
And they didn't know that I was going to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's been on my calendar.
Yeah.
Right.
But she didn't know about my calendar.
Yeah.
So has that how often do you get to succeed in that?
I
don't mean in a quantifiable way, like I need a number. I mean more so like we could talk about even just one example of when somebody was not even there to see music, and then you kind of won them over.
Yeah. So one good example of that was we were playing at a barbecue restaurant off of the coast of Lake Erie in Ohio, and it was just like a show that got thrown together. We were on the road in Cleveland already.
Yeah.
And
at Dunlap's.
We were playing at Dunlap's.
Yeah, I had just been there.
Yeah. Pretty cool spot. It's
and that's
weird,
the band Honeybee we played with there is the band where I was talking about the orb on the other episode. That guy reached out to me and said, "What is this?" Because I sent him the clip. And I said, "Oh, it's me from No Antics. I have a podcast. I'm sorry." But it was all positive. So, the clip was. But so Dunlap's, Lake Erie, off the coast, at a barbecue restaurant.
Yep. So this guy just kind of wanted us to do a set of music in the afternoon on a Saturday. We showed up, and there's people there having like barbecue lunch, just they're not really expecting music. And we kind of lean into doing our thing because that's what we're not going to try to like play to the crowd that's there. We're going to like do what our thing is because we're there to present what our creative vision is. And so if we're there, we're going to do a Kirkos show. We're not going to try to play, some covers you might like or whatever. We're going to do what our plan is to do. And so we'll show up, and we kind of leaned into it, and you could see like people at first were like, oh, what's happening here on stage? But then you see a couple of people, like one middle-aged guy got up and kind of walked up from his table, standing there watching, just kind of nodding along.
He was into it. And
he didn't know, like, our music's not something it's not like classic rock. It's not like, it's not something that's super identifiable.
He was surprised that he was into it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the thing that happens with us on the road a lot. Like Jacob was saying, our music's not something that's really easily definable. So it's not like you could type in like, oh, new industrial doom groove jam band and find our music,
This is the huge problem with you guys for me, is because the music that you guys make is far more listenable than a lot of the music that people expect with that same genre kind of affiliation.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I certainly have a lot of respect for Fish. I don't know that I've ever listened to Fish by myself.
Yeah.
On purpose. You know what I mean? I listen to Unearthed all the time.
Sweet. Thank you.
And for reasons we'll talk about. But also I enjoy it live a great deal. And maybe I think part of it that could help is that it's only one guitar. So people expect too much guitar from this style of music.
Sure.
And it's not too much guitar because he couldn't possibly do too much because he's only the one guy. We could talk about AJ in a bit and how tasteful he is because there's a lot to talk about there. He would have been invited.
Oh, yeah.
He's not into...
No, he's working.
He's working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if he was like, I can't talk. I didn't, or what it was. But that's the thing. I think people expect too much guitar, which this is definitely not, which is great.
Nice.
But that's kind of the thing I would imagine happening the most often is that if people aren't expecting to see you or expecting to see music at all, and it might start, it's again got these dystopian vibes. It's very cinematic in a way that I enjoy. Is a good word for it, which could also be a good business venture for you guys. I want to talk about off camera.
Sweet.
And because that's the thing, I told No Antics, I said, if we can get the online stuff to generate enough income to keep us on the road every Saturday, we could just do a different city every Saturday.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one hotel room. It's, one hotel stay. It's usually for us, we got a couple of rooms. And then my wife was with us for 4 dates. So we got 3 rooms because she paid for one. So I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Then I had to share a bathroom with her, which means I get yelled at if I mess it up. But that's the thing, like they kind of interact that way, right? That, and we see now people that are famous online are spending a lot of time on the road because it translates. People do still want to have an experience somewhere, and that whole thing. So at where people would come to see any of us on purpose, once we get there, things could be really fun.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And so, but online is so competitive. And then when you're on the road and people are not expecting you, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so you're rolling the dice. Thank God that guy was there. That guy did acid with a cousin of his one time 30 years before he saw you.
Yeah.
And he had forgot about it until you guys showed up. And he had a half a slab of ribs, and he said, "Oh my God, what year is it?"
Start getting the meat sweats.
He's like, got the meat sweats, and then he remembers when his cousin gave him that acid in the barn that time, and they were listening to what was 30 years ago. What was that? 1994.
Fish,
How old was this guy?
Alice in Chains.
Yeah, he remembers seeing Fish, and he thought he was at the Sphere, but it hadn't even been invented yet.
He foresaw it.
Yeah, he had a premonition in his cousin's barn of Fish at the Sphere, and he had no vocabulary because he couldn't spell either of those words. It's 2 words with a PH.
Yeah, that's tough.
And he's high on acid in a barn.
Fish at the undulating orb.
Fish at the undulating orb. So, and that's a great thing too that I was talking about with No Antics on the pod is that part of the live music thing that is still so it can be a real help if you're not getting a lot of buy-in otherwise is hopefully one of these dads in here has a guitar and he wants to come talk to us about I have that same Hendrix Voodoo cable. Like, what? You have the cable? And anything that's like, oh, you guys need a swirly gig. They love the gadgets. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like if you could find one guy in there that spent his tax return on a Les Paul or something, he's going to check it out for a minute. I do it with you all the time. I was just thinking in the shower today that I need to get one of those Korgs.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have the XLRs already.
Yeah.
Lord Jesus, I love plugging stuff in.
Yeah.
And is that the 1 or the 2?
That's the 1.
So the 1's fine.
Oh, the 1's fine.
The 1's great.
Yeah. I played it too. We went back home a few weekends ago and I went to like the local music shop that we grew up going to.
61 or 73?
Mine's 73.
You think 73?
That's, I use it.
You use it?
Yeah.
Okay, then I would probably use it.
Yeah, it's definitely nice.
Because the Nord is 61, but I'm not talking about replacing. I'm talking about adding something. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So 73 is probably the way.
And then that's nice. I've been looking to try to get something to, you can maybe do this where it's like the Nord, or I've been trying to get something to where like one keyboard's organ. Because right now I'm using like an organ patch.
And the pianos in my Nord sound great, but I also the organ sounds great, and the clavinet is my favorite thing in there, and the synth patches all sound great, just because the whole thing is so much nicer than any other keyboard I've ever owned. That like it's like okay, but I need to dedicate something to piano,
right?
You know what I mean?
And it's like when we're playing, I like to play like a lot of those different stuff at the same time. Yeah, so it's tough when it's all on one keyboard.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. Yeah. Yeah. And the micro Korg exists for guitar players, I think.
AJ has one.
Yeah. I have a couple, and I'm thinking about pre-ordering the new one. But it's not out yet. And but it's like the intro machine. It's like No Antics uses it for like intros to stuff. Oh, yeah. And I can sample those and put those in my Nord, but then I'm like tying up another thing in the Nord that I got to do. So I'm thinking about getting one of those sample pads he has for just intros from that specific keyboard, because otherwise I would rather just play my Nord and my Moog the whole time. Oh, yeah. You say Moog or Moog?
I say Moog.
You do say Moog? Yeah. I do that. I just always feel
like an asshole.
Right. It's right. That's why I say it. But I don't know. I grew up saying Moog. And then people started saying, it's actually Moog. And I'm like, well, but now I have to be the guy that knows that and has to tell that to other people. Yeah.
You can let them go. But that's almost worse. Mm-hmm. Because then they might run into someone that's really mean and say it again.
Well, because what if I say it back to them?
Just find a reason to say it again.
No, well, I mean, what if we're talking, right? And and he has been saying Moog, and then I want to refer to my Moog. Yeah, you know what I mean. He's gonna be like, "A what?" And I'm like, "Well, actually, his name was say his name. Yeah, his name was Robert Moog. His name was Robert Moog." This is what we were talking about, is that like I'm such a dork. I want to show you the DI box I bought in Milwaukee.
Oh, nice.
That's not an appropriate thing to do right now. You've seen DI boxes. Yeah. It's a great story. It was a great deal. I had to. Yeah. I had to. Jesus was poor. That's Cat Williams. I'm on spring break, so I think I'm having cannabis-induced delirium. And so the other night I've been sitting at my desk at my Beat Lab, moving all of this video footage from SD cards under a hard drive. So I've just been like, the movie Swordfish?
Yeah. We have it on
like
DVD.
DVD. Yeah, that's a good DVD. If you had The Matrix and Swordfish and then something with some breasts in it. Oh, Swordfish had breasts. Oh, it kills two birds with one stone. It's the perfect film. After Die Hard. Since post Die Hard?
Swordfish.
After the era of Die Hard was the era of the year of the Swordfish. I think they gave her an extra $450 for those chi-chis in that shot.
No, probably.
Yeah,
that's a going rate. I'd assume
$450,000.
Oh yeah,
that's a lot.
I would. Yeah, I mean, yeah, plenty for me. The thing we were getting back to was that even in the case where people aren't necessarily there to see you, or they don't have the expectation to even see music that day. If you can win a couple of them over with reminding them of something else they kind of like, that goes a long way, especially when you're dying up there, you're in your first set and people are still eating and the sun is still out. And it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Because I play a lot of cover shows and stuff because I got so depressed when I couldn't play for almost a year after quarantine started that once things started popping back up, I started just taking everything.
Yeah.
So I've played like car shows and like employee barbecues and like...
Y'all played that NASCAR event.
That was an original band I'm in,
cool.
Blinded by Stereo. Yeah, we're doing that again this year.
Oh, really? That's sweet.
Last year
man.
we got to do it, and I tell everybody we opened for Flow Rider just because we played on the same day.
Yeah.
And this year we're opening same day as Ludacris
Sweet.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
from the Super Bowl.
Yeah, from Fast and
He
Furious.
likes
show.
fast cars.
From the Illuminati.
Yeah.
Ludacris is in the Illuminati, and I'm opening for him June 2nd at the Worldwide Technology Raceway with Blinded by Stereo.
You gonna try to get in?
Yeah, you're going to try to get inducted?
Oh, into the Illuminati?
Yeah.
Well, because here's the plan.
Network.
I can't believe I didn't tell you guys about this, because I also may have the opportunity to play on a festival-style bill with one Mr. Brett Michaels later in the summer. And so I have been thinking that what if, after I get sworn into the Illuminati, of course, I get just an opening 16 bars from Ludacris on a new track that I'll just produce myself. And then
Oh my.
I get Brett Michaels to sing the hook.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That could unite the country finally.
That could bring us all together.
It could.
It could. Woo! I can't even tell you what I was about to say. It was positive, but it's just inappropriate to be that specific with something that positive. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. But yeah, I think it'll heal the nation.
Yeah,
it's all I meant.
I was there with you.
I was talking about somebody coming back from the dead, and it's just not appropriate to make fictional, fantastical jokes about deceased victims of police brutality. It's just not appropriate.
Sometimes it is. Not on the pod.
You don't have to follow me on that one. You don't have to follow me down that. Let's talk about barbecue. Did you guys have any of that barbecue that day in Ohio?
Yeah,
they gave us
Ohio barbecue.
That was good.
Here's my thing also about St. Louis is I have friends that live in really beautiful places like San Francisco. And that's the one I'm thinking of. And when they come here, the only thing they want to do is get barbecue. Like there's the barbecue in California is that bad.
Oh yeah, it's
that
garbage.
the first thing they want to do is get barbecue. And people don't even necessarily think of St. Louis as best barbecue. They think Kansas City, which No Antics had the best ribs in Kansas City. According to my attorney, the best ribs in Kansas City were at this place we went to when we were on our way to Lawrence. And so I've had the best, according to my attorney. I can tell you. I've had homemade ribs that are always better than any, especially competition style rib I get anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I like a home style rib, which is not going to be as trimmed. It's definitely going to be more tender than the ribs you get at a place usually because it's a smaller batch.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I like small batch home style ribs, which we should make and vacuum seal and sell.
Oh yeah.
Jesus.
Put them on the merch table.
God. Okay, so now here's the new plan. Miles and Tyler from No Antics, and then now you two, we're all going to move in together. Complex, because we're going to use these ideas like vacuum sealed home style. What did I say?
Ribs.
But
Tender, small batch.
Small batch, home style, small batch ribs. We're going to be making ribs in the morning. We're going to be vacuum sealing them and freezing them all before lunch. And then we're going to have a nice lunch, and then we're going to book dates. And we're going to produce things. This is going to be perfect. Okay, so we got to start shopping real estate.
Oh, yeah.
I found a perfect building, but it's in Florida. I don't really want to live in Florida. But it's
beautiful down there.
It's in like something beach. Panoma Beach?
Beaches are nice.
No, it's a P. I just sent it to Molly. It's
Pensacola.
It's a two. No, that's not it.
Panama City.
But it's a two-story. I have it in my email here. It's a two-story building that has a built-out recording studio with a whole mic collection and a desk, and like it's all set up, like it's turnkey, like they're selling it as is, like that. But it's got space for us to live upstairs.
That's nice.
That's everything.
Right, but I'm just wondering. because it's in an area called beach and it's in Florida, I don't do hurricanes.
Oh, there will be hurricanes.
But I don't do them.
Yeah.
So can you tell the Lord that I don't do them?
Yeah,
and so
block
before we
it.
get down there,
End hurricanes.
Yeah.
wrap it up on the hurricanes. Maybe that's the idea, though. Aren't they rotating?
Yeah, they're trying to wrap it up.
So stop wrapping it.
Yeah.
Unravel it. Unravel the hurricane, Jesus. You see me outside putting plastic on my Neve council, and I'm like, no, Jesus. Unravel it, Lord.
Yeah.
Unravel it, God. Fix it. But that's the thing. I think we've learned this with merch, too. How's your merch game? I have some of it.
Our
Merch.
Merch. I'm saying merch.
March is what
I thought you said March.
Oh, no, March Madness. Hard pivot.
Yeah, I
Why
was
do you think I'm
thinking
dressed
about
like this?
basketball, dude.
We're going straight to hoops, brother. What do you think this show is?
Yeah.
That'd be funny.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about basketball.
He knows a lot about basketball. He's been downloading some to me.
This is a fascination of me, though, is young dudes that are way into basketball, because I just never had that. And so, but you meet people. I was listening to a podcast the other day where they were opening cards and they knew who all the people were and they had a personal story
Dan
about a memory.
Soder.
Oh, the Dan Soder.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah.
Soder,
And-
hell yeah.
But why does he know all that?
Oh, basketball players from when I was in middle and high school is probably the most knowledge I have about anything other than music.
That's so fascinating. Are
Yeah.
you tall?
No,
He's 6 foot.
people say I am. I'm not tall
You
though.
are 6 something.
Yeah,
That's
but
tall.
I watch basketball, so that's not tall.
No, it's not tall. Well, then Dee Dee's taller than my brother.
Right.
And my brother's 6'7", I think.
Right,
So
and then Dee Dee's over 6'7".
he's taller than my brother. And my
Dee Dee's
brother's
tall.
at least 6'6". I thought he was 6'7". Somebody is 6'8". Dee Dee is 6'8".
He could hoop.
LeBron's 6'8".
Didi and LeBron just go head to head.
That would be a good music video.
Oh, that would be a good
Dee Dee
one.
versus LeBron.
We
AI
still have to do a
LeBron.
music video where we're frisbee golfing. Did I ever talk to you about this? I had a whole concept for a music video where I thought we were supposed to be frisbee golfing with you guys. Or maybe it was with another band that's no longer together. But you guys should take their spot. Because I still want to frisbee golf. I gotta
love
take this
frisbee
jacket
golf.
off. I'm getting too hot. All this talk about LeBron.
You're wearing the right
Yeah,
colors.
Lakers over here.
Yeah. Let me look back at these tour dates here for a little bit because I'm so excited about this. Waco, Texas.
Yeah.
Waco.
Is that on purpose?
Shout out to Branch Davidians.
Have you guys been to Fayetteville before?
We've done one night in Fayetteville before.
At the same venue?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that one, I felt like that's a good one to start off with because you know what you're getting yourself into. Waco, you haven't been to?
No.
But you know somebody there.
No.
That's the venue you're talking about?
No, that was
A band you met
that
somewhere
was
else?
the cult that existed there when they did the whole thing that Waco's infamous
Yeah.
for.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant that was a band that booked you there. There's probably a band there
It's
called
probably,
that.
yeah,
There
probably
should-
Here's the
good.
thing.
There should
The
be.
likelihood that you're going to, what's it called?
The Branch Davidians.
The idea that you're going to play in Waco, Texas, and there's not going to be a band called that on
Unlikely.
the bill is, it's not very likely.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that's ever happened there.
Yeah. That's why the name stood out to me.
Yeah. We're excited about it though.
2 nights in Midland, same venue.
Two different venues.
2 different venues. I
Same-
do like that. I actually think if you're visiting and you're fairly unknown, you're not splitting your own audience there. That can be a really great way to pop into a market.
Yeah.
Is to hit a couple different venues. Because if
Yeah.
I'm always going to shows at the Heavy Anchor, I'm probably not going to very many shows at Red Flag because the
Right.
demographics of the neighborhood are so different and parking is different and access to things is different. It's on the other side of 2 highways from me. As close as it is, it's 44 and then 40 to get to Red Flag, as an example.
Yeah.
Whereas the Heavy Anchor's on right by my house. But think about how different the bands are that play at those 2 places.
Yeah.
Not just size and scope, but also genre. And so if you're searching to expose and build an audience, hitting multiple venues in one market makes total sense to me. Do you know the names of those off the top of your head? I didn't write names down.
The Angry Armadillo
Ooh.
and then Riley's.
Bar and Grill.
Yeah.
You
Bar
book
and
all
Grill.
this stuff?
The 2 of us do.
How does that process work?
Lots of emails.
Lots of emails.
Emails a
Yeah.
lot?
Yeah.
And then you guys are pretty on top of those.
Yeah.
And you have dedicated email addresses that aren't full of things from Temu.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm trying to give the kids some pointers because the kids have no idea how to do anything. Not my kids necessarily, but like in the street, out in the world. The people need to know
Yeah.
how to book a tour. And you got to have a good, clean, functioning email. which I've not had since I abandoned my career in 2020. My email's messed up, but I don't book the dates.
My personal email is crazy, but we keep one that's for the band that's fresh.
Right. Midland, Texas. There was a band in the 90s called Midland, and they had a song called Drinking Problem. In the 90s, in that golden era of 90s country. I'll send it to you. You guys are going to have so much homework from this. Bisbee, Arizona. Mm-hmm. Why Bisbee?
Well, we were looking for something. We had shows booked in Vegas already. Yeah. That's kind of what we booked.
So you're booking along the way.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was wondering about how those came about and also just how much fun that's going to be. Just the idea of springtime in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And playing music and then having all morning to wait in line at the buffet if you have to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like that's like my favorite thing. So Bisbee and Sedona are basically on the way. We identified prospective venues that may work and then started that correspondence. And then other bands on those bills?
Those are just us.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you do the 2-set thing.
Mm-hmm. We're going to try to, yeah.
Yeah. Which I enjoy. You did that to Get Down the other night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How much is there the ratio of material that is released to not released? Is that most of it is not released?
Right now, yeah.
Yeah. Because, which I'm for, because I like the stuff that's come out. I like how it sounds and stuff. So if it takes that long, I'd rather it take that long. Yeah. As a fan,
yeah,
you know what I mean. I'm like, I don't want you to crank it out. I got burned on Enter the Matrix for PlayStation 2. They rushed it out. They never delayed it. And it sucked. It was full of problems.
Just delay it.
Just push it off and then change my life in 6 months.
Yeah,
what are you talking about? You're going to shit the bed now? Or you can change my life in 6 months? Why is she coming? Why is she A-framing out of the car? That ruins the whole sequence. Keep Jada Pinkett Smith in the car. It could have been great. So you guys did, people don't understand this. And I get really sensitive about it and I start talking too much because it makes me angry. And Lucius and I have talked about this at length, so we don't need to. But people don't know or don't choose to acknowledge that my friend Molly is actually a very capable and learned audio engineer.
Oh, yeah.
You guys track that whole LP. I call it an LP because of the length. Do you identify Unearthed as an LP?
We're just calling it an album, but an LP would be probably like the...
Because people are like... Because I don't want people to see like 6 songs and think it's an EP, because it's a breadth of material that feels like an album. And certainly the length of therein, but there's... I don't know. And I think in the way that we listen to it, it makes perfect sense because it doesn't have to be super short or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you wrote that whole thing before you went in there, mostly just for efficiency.
Oh, yeah. Some of them... a chunk of it, like half the album, is stuff that we had written before we were even a band.
Yeah.
So we had been working on it, and then we got in the band, and like we had been working on it as a unit, and it was pretty polished before we got in there.
Yeah. And then how do you make that decision about what the song is like live versus how it is in the studio? Like, I know it all has to be more quantified and whatnot in the studio and really planned out, and so that everyone does everything at the same time. But live, are the songs, do they ebb and flow in length?
They do, yeah.
Okay.
We try to keep the like solo sections within our songs open for whoever's soloing to kind of like give cues on how long they want it to be. It's not going to be like, oh, you have 16 bars to solo. It's like,
that sucks when you feel like you could get away with a lot more and, and it's up already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But on the recording, you don't necessarily indulge all the way unless you're getting something really magical happening.
On the recording, yeah, we did like a pass through all the tracks as a unit, just live, like a live take of everything. And we kind of tried to approach it.
To a click?
No click, just going in raw. And we tried to just get recordings that way. And we approached it like we do with our live music, where we didn't have a set number of bars or anything. We didn't really have a lot of structure. It was all just based on audio cues and eye contact, that kind of thing. But we still kind of like, we had the idea this is going to be in the studio. I think that kind of subconsciously pushes you to be a little bit more on your P's and Q's, so to speak, with your solo and stuff. And so I think that maybe kind of gave them a little bit more of like a shorter, more concise kind of structure there, but in a live setting we get a little bit looser with it. But we didn't really have anything in mind going into the studio. Except for the song order.
Yeah. What's the margin of error, or the not margin of error, range of, like, if a song is, say, 8 minutes on the record, what's the range of how long that song could be if you guys were going to play it tomorrow?
I don't want to put a cap on it.
No, right.
The longest version of anything we've done is a Blooming Blunder at the Get Down, like a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And that one's like 5 or 6 minutes on the album, and we played it a 27-minute version.
Yeah.
So that's like the extreme of it right now. But I think the more comfortable we get on the road, it could go.
I find that certain songs sound better in certain spaces, because I think the thing we're talking about, the orb out there, starts to reflect kind of the frequency bias of the space.
100%.
You know what I mean? So No Antics may play Listen at, I can't think, I can only think of venues from when I was in high school. They're all closed. I almost said, when No Antics plays at Cicero's, when No Antics is at Mississippi Nights, and this is in heaven, when we get to the glory of God and we get to pick the venue. That's what heaven is. You get to pick the venue every night. We're just going to set it up right here. So tomorrow night's Red Rocks, and then come back, and then we'll do Mississippi Nights on Thursday.
How nice.
And then it's like the Peloton.
Yeah.
It's like the Peloton for your band. We should make one of those.
Yeah.
Your band can play in front of anybody anywhere.
Yeah.
In your basement.
Yeah.
For $39.99.99
a month.
A month.
Oh, yeah.
For the rest of your life. That's a lot of roofs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's always my go-to. It's like the guys in like Weekender, like hobby, like cover bands and stuff. They're like roofers, and they come in covered in sawdust and drywall dust, you know, to like get skinny top, heavy bottom Ernie balls. Do you guys play guitar at all? You play bass, but
bass,
I don't.
You don't play at all. Okay, so I was just trying to see how hard that was going to hit him. Do you understand the concept of a skinny top, heavy bottom Ernie ball?
Not really.
It's a guitar string. It's just
I got
and a certain demographic of working gentlemen who like set neck guitars, like those.
Okay.
Because you get the chugga chugga, but it's not too hard on your fingers when you go to the whoopa whoop.
Okay.
Up here, you know what I mean? So, but I hate them. They feel too heavy on the bottom. I kind of go the other way. I do 11 to 49.
Okay.
So I like a thicker thing to bend up here, but I don't want it to be so scrapey.
Yeah.
On my fingies. And that's how I talk.
Yeah.
2 people.
That's fine.
Aren't these cool?
Yeah.
These aren't mine. We found these in the ceiling when we moved in here.
Nice.
Ground score. Ceiling score.
Yeah, I wanted you guys to see this space, because this is something I would love to do some content with you guys in, is I want to start doing musical segments for.
Oh, yeah. When
I was a kid, and I've been talking to people about this, I really loved concert films, like a whole concert movie. Mm-hmm. And all my favorite artists had really good examples of them. Maybe that's why they were my favorites, because I could watch those over and over again. Mm-hmm. And my grandfather would always get me the Crossroads DVDs. And so it'd be like all the popular guitar players at the time doing the Eric Clapton Festival or whatever, which as a kid, when you don't know that music gets cooler than that, is like the best thing.
Yeah.
And keeps you like wanting that live music thing. So then when I was a kid, even before I really played guitar, I would go, if somebody was playing a guitar somewhere, I wouldn't say, oh, that's too loud. I would say, ooh, look at that guitar.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which is already so much better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Than if I just said, oh, that's loud.
Yeah.
I can't hear my iPad.
Yeah.
Because you're being too loud. Because we didn't have those. We had cigarettes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We didn't have iPads in the 90s. We had Marlboro Lights.
Yeah.
And they were good.
Time. Yeah, it's a better time.
Apparently Marlboro Lights sell really well in Japan.
I could see that.
I don't know why. I love that though. You know, and it doesn't make you proud.
Yeah.
If I was from Virginia, I'd be so happy about that. Well, this has been great. No. I forget where we were going with that. It got too good, too quick. We're talking about the music and when it's live and when it's guitar strings.
You were talking about concert films.
Yeah. And so one of the things Lucius and I have been talking about doing with this space is for the pod, doing like musical segments, because that was always my favorite part of the Henry Rollins show when that used to be on like Showtime or something. It's the only reason I would ever watch that is because it had live bands on it. They'd get to play twice. And for a certain time, Conan had bands play twice, which I would go to sleep and then wake up to watch that and then go back to sleep.
Yeah.
And on analog TV, I had a TV that could get a little bit of Channel 5 on its own without me having to go all the way downstairs. So I remember the Raconteurs were on Conan, and I went to bed at like 8:30, and then I got up at 11:30 to watch it and then go back to sleep, which I even then thought, this is so dumb. Why don't I just stay up?
Right,
but I couldn't do it because I was an infant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had a hard routine.
Yeah, I can hardly stay up past 11 myself.
I was up till 4 this morning, mostly listening to the same 30 seconds of Cat Williams saying, Jesus was poor. Jesus ain't had nothing. And I listened to that. I have it on my phone here. I have YouTube Premium, so I can screen grab stuff.
Oh, nice.
I'm bougie. You know, look at all this shit. I just come in here. I just unpack. I got phone chargers. Anybody need some juice? You got an iPhone?
Yeah, I got an iPhone.
You got an iPhone?
Oh, I'm juiced up.
Okay, what are we going to do with people that don't have iPhones? You didn't say you have an iPhone. You said...
Oh, I got one.
Oh, okay. Oh, I have one.
I thought you were...
I had that thing on me. He was scared. He's like, I am not the one.
Yeah, don't you put me out on the street like an iPhone.
Yeah, you had to prove it to the... He holds it up to the camera. He takes the case off. Look at it.
Blue edition.
I can tell. I go Pro Max. Are you a Pro Max?
I'm not sure what that means.
Then you're
Is
not.
that the type of iPhone?
You got 3 camera lenses or 2?
Two.
Two.
No, that's okay. You're in the cult still. I'm like the Grand Master of Flash.
You're like Tom Cruise within the Scientology.
Yeah, like I know about Xenu.
Yeah.
You guys, a bitch could never. You know what I'm saying?
We've heard tale of Xenu.
That's the thing. You're not even. That's why they're mad about it, because you're not supposed to know about Xenu until they have like $100,000 out of you. Did you see the guy in the mask talking about this on Vice? Oh God, we just need to do. Can we do a weekly podcast where I just show you guys things I find on the internet?
Yeah.
We'll do it for the Patreon.
We watch it like Action Bronson used to
That's
watch.
the whole concept of Movie Boy, that No Antics song that's coming out soon that Miles sings, is that that was like, they would say, you trying to Movie Boy? And they would just sit around and watch movies, but mostly while they were doing that, show each other funny things on their phone.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a fabulous bonding experience.
Oh, yeah.
Necessary and worth preserving. And that's really what the song is about. But the... that tradition of anyway, you guys got to see the whistleblower in the big white mask on Vice talking about Scientology. They got him, bruh.
Link us that for sure.
They told him about Xenu. Would you guys say that you two are best friends?
Yeah.
I'd say so, yeah.
And how did that start?
We went to the same high school, so that's how we met for sure. And then I guess a little bit like after I got out of high school, we got really close over just like kind of liking the same music and doing this.
Yeah. And you guys talked about that a little bit on All That Jam. Kirkos Part 2 incoming from them. I can't wait for that. That's going to be great. And then I started playing with one of my best friends. We used to just play PlayStation. And then he got drums. And I had a guitar. So I said, I guess I got to start bringing this guitar.
Yeah.
And he just moved to Atlanta. We did that for a long, long time. And he's not dead or anything. He's fine. I should check on him now that you said that. But because that's how it seems like it would be hard to sustain this mutual commitment to the project like this. You know what I mean? You guys are kind of all in, and that you're doing a lot of traveling. You're not necessarily working in a capacity that you couldn't just get out of if you absolutely had to do this instead.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not that you couldn't do something that way professionally. I mean, intentionally, you're set up that way so that you can do 2 weeks on the road, or you could spend the time that it takes. Obviously, like I'm learning this week, being on spring break, be like, oh, I would be plenty busy if I didn't have a job.
Oh yeah, man.
Because I have all the content from the tour that I have to do stuff with. I have all the content we're working on as a band that I have to do stuff with. I have all of the clerical stuff, like you were talking about, like that stuff of emailing venues and answering those questions is so hard.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time.
I try to literally like set myself up to like get a lot of that done at work, like whenever I have downtime.
Yeah.
So even when I'm at work, I'm working on that for the most part.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And then there's also just the aspect of like you still want to also just practice your instrument. And that's a whole other.
That's what I was telling Dee Dee after like our third date was like playing keyboard is such a small part of what I do. Mm-hmm. But that's my job in that band on stage is to play keyboard and kind of also keep people entertained. Remember to plug the merch. Yeah. But I don't spend any time in a day on the road worried about what I'm going to play on my keyboard.
Right.
It's so secondary to the thing at that point. Mm-hmm. And so you have to have some aptitude and hunger for those other tasks we have to do. Like, I think what I enjoy about it is that we pulled it off.
Yeah.
The fact that you can get away with it makes you want to do it again. It's like a tattoo. Yeah. It's like if you never have a tattoo, you're like, I don't really know. It's kind of scary. I do want one, but I don't know about the process. Then once you survive it, you're like, oh my God, I want to go right back right now. Right. But it's just that maybe that is the hard part. So, and then you guys have been on the road enough. You know this isn't going to be a complete waste of your time. It's still worth it for those reasons we talked about. For growing the brand. This is how I think about things.
Right.
Do you guys think about it as a brand that you got to grow?
I don't love to, but I understand that
it's the language more so of the time in the context where the people are that we're going to reach.
Right.
If there were people just guaranteed to always be at X number of festivals and that was always going to work out, you could flow in and out and try to whatever, but you also have to think about like how to get them to buy in because there's so much competition. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's the dichotomy of like being an artist in like this modern age is that it's like you feel like the actual art is up against the marketing of it. Like, because like even if it's us, for instance, we have to put forth a pretty big chunk of time towards like social media, emailing, all this stuff, website building, content and stuff. Whereas like if we can maybe put that chunk of time just right into the art 100% of the time, all the time, that would feel more like we're actually doing the thing that we're trying to do. Yeah. But you have to have this other side of things with like the marketing, the brand building in order to be able to sustainably make the art now. Yeah. So it's like, it's kind of like a two-sided sword. There's some give and take. Yeah. And it can be kind of frustrating. And it's like, I think what our ideal goal is one day we can get to a point where the social media and stuff is like, we feel like once we kind of reach a certain plateau of getting in front of enough people, that'll kind of take care of itself. Where like, we're not really worried so much about an online presence as like, it's already there. And so it's like we just kind of let it kind of go off on its own. And
it can be an incredible tool. I mean, I really want independent artists like us to really dig into how to use those to our advantage, because people that we don't respect very much or have very high regard for, people that we don't spend any of our own time thinking about, are being really successful on those platforms. And for me, that tells me that 3 successfully intelligent dudes. I mean, you have any CTE?
No.
See? I mean, we could do this. There's people with CTE doing it good. O.J. Simpson is still on Twitter.
He's great at the internet.
His Twitter is my favorite. That man is playing too much golf. He's going to get a melanoma. And how does he remember all that stuff that he's talking about? He's talking about football that's happening right now. I'm like, you are 87 years old. You're playing golf. Just play golf. He's screaming at somebody holding his phone so he can scream, hello, Twitter world. It's OJ. Look, the 49ers. I'm like, what? Who? Why are we talking about that? That I feel like we should not stray away from it. I think earlier on I was like, I don't really want to be good at that stuff because it's not cool or whatever. But we're going to get replaced by musicians who aren't as cool as us.
Right. If we don't get in there. If
they get cooler than us online, people aren't going to know that we exist.
Yeah. Right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you just let kids know that stuff exists, they will find it and they'll tell you all about it and they'll be really excited about it, but they have to keep that option. Like, so even if we only take up like 1% of the web space, I want to make sure that we're doing it so that like people know that, like, for example, our bands are a lot different in a lot of ways, but there's so much of it that we're doing with all live instruments still, which is not common. You go to an arena, I saw the Backstreet Boys, beautiful, very expensive seats, no band.
Oh, wow.
Sold out arena.
Yeah.
Playing 2 decades of hits. and it's 5 middle-aged millionaires and I didn't even see a DJ.
Wow.
At least a rapper has the respect to bring out the DJ, and the DJ is its own identity in the whole thing. And so even if it's not a live band, it makes sense because it's connected. It's connected to the tradition of how the music was made out loud. Still, you know what I mean? And I don't have anything against like bands that mix live instruments with tracks, let's say, but like people aren't going to know that you can make music with just the instruments and the people.
Yeah.
If, we don't keep reminding them that like, I think No Antics and Kirkos both offer a very like kind of epic listening experience.
Yeah, definitely.
In very different ways and for different reasons or whatever, but also that they're both so listenable and they kind of have this like otherworldly cinematic quality to them that it's all Miles. That's what it is.
He should just do a one-man show. I guess.
He could just do it. That's what he's going to do. It's just going to be Miles and his drums and an iPad.
Yeah.
He's a play.
Actually, that could be really good as an opener for us.
Could be.
Oh my God, that would kill him.
Yeah. Well,
Miles, you're going to do 45 minutes with the iPad, then you're going to do the first set with Kirkos, and then we're going to do the No Antics set, and then Kirkos is going to do another set. Is that good, buddy? And he's eating a taquito in bed. He's like, we got to do something. Him and his mama moved over by that Quick Trip, and he can't be closer to a Quick Trip. If he doesn't have the barrier of driving into the Quick Trip, I mean, he's gonna have a colon tumor the size of a softball.
Yeah.
Because he's going to eat nothing but buffalo chicken rollers.
Yeah, the rollers, dude.
Maybe he's got like some kind of thing for it that like an awareness or like a preparation. No, he's got a bodily awareness of the trip.
Yeah. His secondary stomach chamber that's kind of filled with gristle. Like
it's mostly, it's like a pumicey kind of gravelly kind of afterbirth that he uses to really get those preservatives.
Yeah.
So he can pass them through his large intestine. What time's your rehearsal?
7:30, 8.
We're good for a few minutes.
Okay, we're good. I didn't know if I had to start winding it up, but just that's the thing is that like I don't want us to totally give up on the internet stuff because we definitely, if we see somebody live, we definitely want them to have the ability to take us home with them.
Yeah.
And so if that's as simple as a QR code on your bass drum that gets them to your fucking Bandcamp or whatever, that's the best thing. Because if I'm starting to get captured by the live experience of a band, I will immediately try to pull up that song on their Spotify to save it so that I can try to duplicate that experience later. You know what I mean? And then I put it away because I'm not going to watch a video I take or something. You know what I mean? I'd rather just save it so I can talk about it because I will not remember their names. You know what I mean? It will not happen. Usually. And some bands can't afford merch at all, or they don't have merch that's relevant for you to buy, or it's cash only. You don't have any cash on you or whatever the thing is. So having like something online just for that thing to grow, because that's kind of, and then now that's the new thing, that if you have pull independently in the digital space in some way, whether that's streams or views or whatever the thing is, that people that you would want to collaborate with later professionally, it's much more, it's incentivized for them.
Yeah.
You know, which also I say collaborate because I don't necessarily think that either of us spend a lot of time thinking about a traditional like publishing contract with somebody. That's just not even necessary anymore. If there was some kind of incentive where somebody said, hey, listen, we want to put out this record on vinyl, we'll take this much of it, you get this much of it or whatever, that's different. But that's, you know, that's not really that's a separate thing. But those relationships would be advantageous, you know, for them to have that streaming data, which is, you know, I wish they would report plays under 1,000, but what are you going to do?
It's been, one thing that's nice with the social media is like being able to connect with other bands.
Yeah.
We booked this whole tour in Instagram Messenger.
Right. We did a lot of that as well, as far as like getting other bands to play on a bill with. And then also just being able to like, there are people who I really admire in music who are like musicians that I've been listening to like as a kid for a while or whatever. And then you get active on social media and it's like, you know, we follow them or whatever, and after a while we get a follow back. It's like now we're kind of in their sphere, and so it's kind of
And you put
it's
something
nice
out,
to be able
they'll
to do
see
that, right?
by
And so
accident.
we've gotten a few like people where it's like, oh, that's a musician I actually listen to a lot. That's like liked our story or whatever, and you're like, that's actually really cool. So there's cool things where it's like that kind of thing is confirmation in a certain way. You're like, all right, that's like we're on a certain path, and it's nice to be able to get into that realm and communicate with people that are already kind of ossified within the scene in a certain way. Like they already have a place. They've kind of like solidified their footprint. And so you can kind of get in front of them and they're like, oh, I actually really like what you guys are doing, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, oh, okay, nice. This is like a step towards that, you know?
I think I'm going to end this segment of the show with a clip from El Linador. Can you guys tell me about that experience a little bit? El Linador used to be, and now is again, it's sometimes, a Mexican restaurant on Cherokee, where there's historically a lot of Mexican restaurants and a large Mexican-American community there. And it's great. I spent a lot of time down there. And this guy I know started booking shows there again, which I was excited about because it used to be kind of a DIY, kind of independent, like open mic kind of space where they used to have that before it like closed the first time or whatever. And so what he started doing is, okay, we gotta do it to try it. And so I saved the date because he was going to be out of town. He wanted me to book it. It's okay. Who can I get for that? No, Antics was busy because somebody was out of town. So I said, well, Kirkos should do it. It's another good opportunity for me to do something with Harmon Dobson, who Tyler from No Antics is in, which I also love.
Yeah, they were great.
They're supposed to come on here. It's just, they'll tell you it's their drummer's schedule, but really it feels like it's my schedule. That makes it hard. And a singer-songwriter, Dan Roth, who I love locally, and I wanted to see. And I wanted an act that wouldn't be another whole drum set or something. Though Dan does do that. If you guys are into Dan, he has tons of music with all kinds of instruments. My favorite song by him is about a saxophone, but it's got a long name I can't remember. And the experience was very entertaining in that there was a lot of, I'm going to let you take it from there. I want to know, talk to me.
It was an interesting space.
Yeah.
We didn't know what to expect walking into it. And the thing is, though, like with us being on the road, we get into situations like that more often than you'd like to. And so like we kind of knew it wasn't
That's
like
what
the
I told
first thing
Dee
that's
Dee,
ever
too.
happened, you know?
No, that's what is that Dee Dee was like, is this going to happen to us on the road where we just have no idea exactly what we're dealing with and the PA speakers don't match and like the only thing that's really happening is the bartender's birthday party.
Yeah.
And then, and I had that lady come sing.
Yes, that was an interesting
They
experience.
kept screaming, let her sing! And so I figured, okay, at a time where people are going to be changing stuff around and nobody's going to be playing anyway, let her sing so that it doesn't happen later. Because I didn't want them to take over
Mid-set.
while someone was playing. You know what I mean? So people are plugging stuff in. I have karaoke on this laptop. Anything you want, mama. And that killed. That's on my Patreon.
It definitely killed.
I had, because I was taking video, and I definitely that night clipped out her doing that. Because every time I do something random like this, something crazy like that happens, I probably invite too much of it in.
Maybe.
There's a clip on my Patreon. I did 3 sets at Over Under Bar downtown, just with the bass player and drummer from Crystal Lady. They're good friends of mine.
Okay.
And it just covers mostly. I did a couple originals per set that I could teach them real quick, but it was real off the cuff just to cover the spot because somebody couldn't do it. And a drunk guy came in and was waiting for some food that he was going to take home, I guess, which is why that place is open. They're mostly selling things they can fry and drinks while people wait for it. And it's a great, it's a cool spot, but it used to be a Mexican restaurant. That's what it is now. And this guy said, when I was on a break, he said, do you mind if I play your guitar? I haven't played guitar in 30 years, but something about me playing guitar made him want to play guitar, to which I said, of course.
Yeah.
Please. He was surprised I said that. And then I made them play with him. And he like improvised some jazzy chords, and then he wanted to do a boogie woogie was his favorite thing. And he started making up a song. And this is on patreon.com/Jacob. Because I don't know him, so I can't put that on YouTube because I don't want to put him on blast. What if he's a criminal?
Right.
What if I find out that a serial killer played my guitar at the Over Under Bar? That would be so good. So moments like that, when I wanted to ask you about Alinador, I had totally forgotten about that.
That was the first thing.
That's how crazy that night was.
Yeah.
Was that I'm supposed to be running this whole thing and I forgot that I let some lady sing a gospel song.
Right.
Was it gospel or just R&B?
I think it was more R&B.
He
kinda.
proposed to me. I think it was he proposed to me.
Yeah, I don't.
But for some
remember.
reason, the way she was singing it, I felt like she meant
Yeah.
he had proposed.
But that was a hit. They loved it. You know.
Yeah, I got him out of there. I mean, what are you gonna do? And I had
fun.
Yeah, I had the quesadilla, and it was maybe one of the best quesadillas I've ever eaten in my life.
That's what we were hearing.
Yeah, we like to play a place that's kind of like a little bit oddball and like kind of grimy, darker kind of room.
Because you don't have to pretend to be like whatever is always there. If like you go into a space that always has very similar types of acts, that's almost more restrictive than if it's just a bar and grill with some extra space. Maybe we can make this work better because there's less expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like it was kind of like it's got low ceilings kind of in there. It's kind of like a little square box, and like we like to play in a kind of like a dark room situation like that anyways. It's like it feels like it's maybe the best setting for what our music is to be experienced in.
I've noticed this about your setup too, is that I can recognize it, not just like not even where stuff is as much as like that you guys kind of have a routine of stuff you like to set up. You guys capture a lot of live video and live audio, and you guys have kind of it seems like you guys could build out your show in pretty much any space if you had enough room physically. You know what I mean? Which is kind of how I want us to do it more. But where can people find you guys online? I'll let you guys handle that part because I plugged all the dates. If you are in any of those places, Fayetteville, Waco, Midland, Bisbee, Sedona, Las Vegas, Denver, Omaha, back here in St. Louis on May 3rd, go check out Kirkos on the road. But if they want to go find you right now, outside of the clip I'll include from Alina Dor.
We're on all the music streaming services, so Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music, all that. We're also on Bandcamp. We are on social media at Kirkos Band. And that's
Kirkos is Kirkos. It'll be in the name of the episode. But what's the origin of that name?
So that's actually the root word for circus. It's like a Greek word. And
are you Greek?
No, I have Italian heritage, but it's kind of
the
similar.
Greeks would tell you that's Greek. The Italians would say it's not.
It's not. Yeah. But they're kind of similar. But yeah, I have kind of something like that. But I mean, I took Latin in high school, so I have like a kind of like a interest in the classics, if you will, kind of in like history. And we have a thing with our music that's like kind of trying to touch on the idea of hauntology, which is kind of like a bunch of different eras overlapping and present at once, and like the cultural products all kind of merging into one sludge. And so we're kind of trying to like take that a step further and like kind of harken back to previous like prehistory times and like something that's more ancient or arcane too. And so like we kind of wanted to plug in like Greek stuff and kind of like a nod to that in a way.
Yeah.
But also we've been told when we were first writing our songs, Jacob and I, in the basement of our house in Colorado, our roommate told us it sounded like haunted circus music. And we were like, okay, so it's like a haunted circus. And then we were just like really high on acid one night, and we were like trying to like put together this idea for a band, and we're like, oh, root word for circus is Kirkos. That's a sweet name. Let's do it. So we went with that. And it kind of ties in that.
No, I like it a lot.
Thank you.
There's a band we played with in Madison called Fingerless that have kind of like, it's definitely like folky, but it kind of reminds me of like Gogol Bordello or like kind of like there's like a Eastern European influence to it that would be fun. And I may try to get them to come down here, and they express some preferences about the kind of band they would want to play with. So I think it'd be a good fit for you guys.
Nice.
Oh, thank you.
Break out the Hungarian minors.
That's what I'm saying. That would be good. Anything Hungarian is good right now. Eastern Europe is so hot right now. I just mean like aesthetically, like people are into it.
Yeah, definitely.
And that stoicism thing is coming back. People want to be cold again.
Yeah.
We've been too lukewarm for too long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you guys do the polar plunge?
No.
Dee Dee's got one.
Does he?
Well, it's a horse trough that he polar plunges in.
Yeah.
I'm going there after this if you want to go take a dip.
We've got practice right after, but we're definitely down in the future.
Yeah, I bet you do.
We do.
Too good for the polar plunge? You can't do it? Is that what you're saying?
I can do it.
No, I
but-
bet you can. He's
Not
6'8".
today.
We could probably get both y'all in that thing. Are people doing that? Are people doing tandem polar plunges?
Couples polar plunge.
His and her in the ice? Are women doing the polar plunge?
I feel like
I've
some are.
never seen a woman
I
do
think
it.
some are. They're out there.
Okay.
You know, is when I see a woman doing it, it's always like in nature. It's like in like they're in Iceland or something.
They don't
They're
necessarily.
giving a polar plunge in
Yeah.
the ocean.
You know
Yeah,
what?
I've done
I've
that.
seen
Way the ice.
have
I would
seen
get up
that.
at 6 a.m. in Michigan. One week I was in on Lake Michigan at a camp, and we'd get up at 6 a.m. every day and go run out into the Lake Michigan and run back in.
That's pretty nice.
It's I wish I'd leaned into it more. I resisted it a little bit
And it's
emotionally.
cold. Oh yeah.
Because you're right. Because if I had that opportunity right now to run out onto the beach, jump in Lake Michigan at 6 a.m. in August, or maybe it was June, could have been July even. One of those. That would be sweet.
Yeah.
Are you guys from St. Louis?
We're from
No.
Birmingham, Alabama.
Both of you.
Yeah.
Why don't you have accents?
We get asked that all the time.
Howdy,
Yeah.
y'all.
Hey, y'all.
What do I expect your accent to be?
Southern drawl. Like, hey, y'all.
But
how
Birmingham's
y'all
a
doing?
city
Yeah.
with schools
Yeah, they got schools there.
and water.
Water,
Water.
failing sewer system.
Food.
But that's
yeah.
after you've used the water.
Yeah. So that yeah,
Who
the water's
cares?
Fine.
Get
Yeah.
it. The water comes in good. We'll worry about what we do with it after. I think the guy from JHS Pedals is from Birmingham, Alabama, and he doesn't have an accent.
Nice. Yeah, I mean it's a pretty like urban area. Like there's a lot of suburb area. There's like
For some reason, when you
obviously
said
a
that, it
city.
reminded me of that episode of Seinfeld where Kramer is hooking up with that lady, but he's also eating African food. He's like, Jared, you want some African food? For some reason, you said urban area. I'm like, oh, we just have a new Ethiopian place down the street from here. Actually, that's lovely.
Didn't mean urban that way.
No, I don't, and I don't even mean that like that. I just mean like when I think urban area, I think okay, you get a sushi place, and you get a Whole Foods, and you get like a, you know what I mean? I think like you get a poke bowl place,
Oh, sure, yeah.
and you got to have the Hawaiian barbecue. That's actually the same place now, right? The Hawaiian barbecue place is the poke doke. They do both.
You'll see both.
I must be getting hungry.
Yeah.
Oh, shout out. I had lunch today from Motortown Pizza. It's like Detroit style pizza that's very good. My wife got the pepperoni with the roast, with the crispy garlic and the goat cheese. Stop.
Nice.
I'm telling you to stop. You got to stop everything. I'm looking at the clock. I got to get you guys off to rehearsal. Kirkos on all platforms, on tour in April, coming back in May. Kirkos, Jacob V Weekly, Caddyshack. Anything? Need anything?
Don't think so.
I'm really
we're
loving
good.
it. I'm so glad we're running up to the hard out though, because I can blame it on that. I feel like I have so many other things we could talk about. But JacobV.com, Patreon.com/JacobV. Take me home.
Take me home tonight. I don't want to wait until I see the light.